Word learning and verbal working memory in children with developmental language disorder. An Engage with DLD research summary. Click the microphone icon on each slide to hear an audio recording of the research summary. Key terms. Words to know in this research. Form referent link. The connection between the sound, i.e. the form, of a word and the object it represents, i.e. the referent. Encoding. The initial process of transferring new information into long-term memory. Retention. The ability to consolidate and keep information in long-term memory over time without further training. Verbal working memory. A temporary storage system that holds information long enough for the brain to begin encoding it. Study background. Why was this study important? Word learning involves different processes to hold new information in memory. Children with DLD may struggle to encode meanings or retain the new information over time. Understanding what part of the memorization process is difficult is important. This can help us find ways of making word learning easier for children with DLD. Study aims. What were they trying to find out? This study aimed to understand what makes learning words difficult for children with DLD. It aimed to understand which stage of word memorization is difficult for children with DLD. The study also aimed to look at how verbal working memory impacts these abilities. Methods. Participants. Who took part in the research? 50 children with DLD and 54 typically developing children. All participants were aged between 5 years 10 months and 8 years 8 months. Methods. Tasks. What tasks were involved in the research? It tested knowledge of word forms using naming and recognition tasks. It also tested knowledge of word meanings using a description task. Finally, it tested knowledge of the form-meaning link using an identification task. On day 1, the researchers tested children's encoding of words. Children had to name, recognise, match and describe the meanings of words. On day 2 to 3, they tested re-encoding with the same tasks. On day 4, they tested children's retention of the words. Here they looked at whether children remembered the words' meanings from days 1, 2 and 3. Results. What was found? Identification. Children with DLD were good at learning form-meaning links in the identification task. Naming, recognition and description. Children with DLD did, however, struggle with learning word forms and meanings in the naming, recognition and description tasks. Specifically, children with DLD and poor verbal working memory performance demonstrated the lowest levels of accuracy on naming and recognition tasks. Memorization. Both typically developing children and children with DLD struggled with the memorization stage, which was tested 4 days after learning a word. What do the findings mean? Children with DLD can memorize enough information about a word to match it to its meaning. However, children with DLD might require high-intensity training with naming and recognizing words when they first learn them. This is relevant to speech and language therapists who are helping children with DLD learn new words. Speech and language therapists should monitor children's progress within sessions and after a delay, like days or weeks, to ensure effective retention. Find out more. You can read this whole paper for free by following this link. Thank you for reading this research. Contact us with questions or feedback at Engage with Developmental Language Disorder.